This research is unbelievable, right? There's so much backstory here. All right, glad you came back for part two. Let's get started. Oh, but first, I'm gonna go change my clothes. That grains and sugars are awesome, and you should eat that. Sound unbelievable? I'm going to give you some more proof. So this is the diet heart hypothesis. This is Ansel Keys and Paul Dudley White. Now others are starting to get on board and go, oh, I see the momentum. I want to be a part of that. And now that voice is getting louder and stronger than any other voice. And understand that Keys's ideas were not based on science. He did do a study. He based his ideas on some other studies that had a lot of flaws in them. But rather than recognize the flaws, which would be the scientific thing to do, he took out the little pieces of it that he liked, and he began to build a house of cards built on a very weak foundation. And then he finally did his own study, the 7 countries study. And yes, he studied 7 different countries. And guess which ones he picked? He had already scouted the globe and picked out cultures that would support his hypothesis, cultures where that intake was high and heart disease was prevalent. He purposefully did not select countries that had high-fat diets and they didn't have heart disease. That's what a scientist would do. But Keys was no scientist, right? He was looking for fame and popularity. So as he's doing his studies, other authors are bringing their research to the table and going, well, we don't see that saturated fat's a problem. We don't see that animal fat's a problem. And when those studies would appear in the journals, he would dismiss them. He would criticize them. He would say that, oh, they're just flawed. He would say that the data was misinterpreted, and he would cast aspersions to all this other research. And as his voice got stronger and stronger, the funding organism, who was the funding organism? The American Heart Association was one of the biggest. They stopped funding. If you said, I want to do research on a ketogenic diet, a high-fat diet, a saturated fat diet, you're not going to get funded. Not only were you not going to get funded, you were going to get blackballed. Even if you got your study funded and done, these guys were going to step in the way of you being able to publish it in any of the reputable journals. And there are many, many doctors and researchers on record saying the worst career choice I made was my decision to study saturated fat and explore that, because as soon as I did, I lost respect in my own field. I was disregarded. I was sidelined. I was not funded. So this was a power block. And for any power block to succeed, money has to change hands, right? That's always at the heart of it. So the American Heart Association is receiving funding from who? Big agriculture. And I only list a few. There is a long list here. The soybean growers of America have a keen interest in seeing Keys be successful, because if soybean oils get sold in greater quantity, they make more money. Corn oil, make more money. So these companies had a huge interest in seeing this succeed. ConAgra, Procter & Gamble, huge interest in seeing this succeed. And they're funding money to the AHA, and the AHA, and by the way, Paul Dudley White, Eisenhower's doctor, he went on to be named president of the NIH, National Institute of Health. So now you've got more than one organism out there getting funding and saying, it's low fat, we all have to eat low fat. That was the only voice that was being heard. By the way, Paul Dudley White kept Eisenhower on a low-fat diet. He took away his butter and his eggs and fed him margarine. He did all the things that are proposed in this diet heart hypothesis, and guess what? His cholesterol got worse and worse and worse. He had more heart attacks. He had 4 more heart attacks before he finally died shortly after leaving the White House. This is one of the most sentinel cases out there. We literally watched this man's health unfold because of White's actions, and the result wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. So again, we have this huge power struggle. Now, am I just making all this up? No, look, I don't have a dog in the fight here. I want to know how to keep my body healthy. That's my only interest. How to keep your body healthy. That's my only interest. But I find when I read this, I almost have to go, really? Is this a conspiracy? Let me share with you things that I found. Here's the American Heart Association. This is 1995, and this is in print. This is what they're telling the American public, please eat more sugar. Here's a list of foods that the American Heart Association recommends you eat as heart healthy and to avoid heart disease. Number 1, eat more refined sugar. And again, the idea here is if I can get the American populace to eat anything other than fat, they're going to be healthier. So they were actually recommending refined sugar. They were saying eat low-fat cookies, eat low-fat crackers. These are really good for you. Jellies and jams and marmalade, these high-sugar foods, yes, eat them. They're high carbs, but they don't have fat. They actually recommended hard candies. Why hard candies? Because soft candies often have chocolate. Chocolate has fat. Fat's bad. So they're recommending you eat hard candies for your heart. Gumdrops, you should have those. Honey, pretzels, and syrup. This is what my American Heart Association is telling me to do to protect my heart. I'm not buying it. So I did a little more research, and just yesterday, I mean literally yesterday, I pulled up the American Heart Association's website, and I cut and pasted this alphabetical list of common cooking oils that contain more of the better for you fats and less saturated fat. Here we are in 1995, and I'm going to, in another video, explain to you all the different studies and break them down. And to in 1995 still think that saturated fat is evil? The AHA is not stupid. These are not dumb people. And certainly they've read these studies. And so I have to question, what's their agenda? I don't get it. I'm not a conspiracy theory kind of guy, but this doesn't make any sense. They're recommending that I cook with canola and corn and safflower and soybean oil. And there is ample research to show when you take those oils, first of all, if you're going to eat vegetable oil versus animal fat, vegetable oils have been shown to lower LDL and cholesterol. That's why they're favored by the AHA. Does that mean they extend your life? Nope. In fact, what has been shown is when we eat more vegetable oils, there is more cancer. And just because it lowered LDL and cholesterol, it hasn't dramatically or at all impacted reducing heart attacks. So why are we claiming this? Because again, the AHA believes, as Ansel Keys taught them, that anything that reduces cholesterol is good. That's not the case. I'm going to share research on another talk that shows that. And when we take these oils, what the AHA is recommending, when we take them and we heat them up and we put them in deep fryers down the road at the fast food place, they create aldehydes, toxins, other toxins called HNEs, that are more dangerous to your blood vessels, cause more corrosion, plaque, and problem than even sugar. Okay? So, what is the most stable, healthiest fat to cook with? It's saturated fat. Actually, it is. Animal fats are saturated. That means they're more stable. Unsaturated fats oxidize. They break down under heat, and they make toxins, and they make this shellac that is harmful for your vessels. Saturated fats don't do that. They're very stable under heat. So whether you use lard or butter or tallow, lard and tallow are older terms, but they're animal fats. Butter would be the one you and I know, or coconut oil. That's much more stable. That's a healthier fat. Then came trans fats, right? Where did that come from? Well, in the 1920s and 30s, we started hydrogenating oils, and what we didn't recognize is we were artificially manipulating fats, and in the process of doing that, some of the fats that we created were called trans fats. It just has to do with their chemical structure, but they're artificial, okay? And they're problematic because trans fats get embedded into the cell of all your cells, your heart cells, your brain cells, your nerve cells. They get embedded into the cell membrane and they alter the way that cell behaves. The other thing that trans fats do is they lower your good cholesterol and they elevate the bad cholesterol, right? But we were told, no. All this research, some of it was done in the States, a lot of it was done in Europe, and when that was brought to the AHA, no. Literally, their position statements were deny. No, trans fats are fine. In small amounts, you don't eat enough, don't worry about it, and they just kept putting out statements of denial. Trans fats aren't a problem. This has been said by the AHA over and over and over again. Trans fats aren't a problem. Trans fats, they're not a problem. Oh, wait a minute. So in the late 1900s, research out of the Netherlands by a guy named Catan did a study looking at trans fats. And guess what? They were a big problem. They dramatically reduced the good cholesterol. And other studies have shown that. They dramatically increased the bad cholesterol, the LDL. and this dramatically increases cardiovascular risk. Oh, shoot. Now all of Europe is saying trans fats are bad. And the US of A, the American Heart Association, had to finally go, well, maybe they are. But they didn't give up. They hired a guy named Judd to do a study. I'm going to talk about that study next time. I'm not going to get into it here. They did their own study. Kraft Foods provided the fats. The food industry designed the study. It was done at a USDA lab. And they were going to show that trans fats were fine. And guess what? They found out exactly what Catan showed. Trans fats are never good. So in 2003, because of those studies, your FDA was forced to make trans fats a dangerous food. And in 2003, they started putting restrictions on how much trans fat you could put in your food. And by 2006, it was added to the food label. And then all these companies had to reformulate their Oreos and their Nabisco crackers and all these baked goods had to be reformulated because trans fats were now in your eye because we had made that knowledge public, right? And we saw a huge change. So all these food companies are scratching their heads going, oh, great, now what do we do? Now what are we going to cook with? We've already villainized saturated animal fat, so we can't tell people that we're using that in our cookies and candies and other things, not candies, but in their baked goods, right? In our food industry. We can't use animal fats. They're aware that hydrogenated oils are a bad thing, so we can't use hydrogenated oils. I didn't share this part of the story, but go back 30 years, the corn and soybean oil industry in America decided, you know what, we're importing palm oil and coconut oil from Malaysia and other countries. Yeah, we want that piece of the market too. So for years, there was this trumped up case made by our own agricultural interests to sully the reputation of coconut oil and palm oil. Okay, so since they'd done that back in the 1970s and 80s, well, we can't even use palm oil or coconut oil because we are the ones that said that was garbage we shouldn't put in our body. And now we know that trans fats aren't an option. What are we going to recommend? And literally in the last decade, what's been fed to you, and I guarantee you you're eating right now, and it's problematic, is vegetable oils. It's the only thing left. They went back to vegetable oils that don't have trans fats, and these things are dangerous. When you take corn oil or soy or any vegetable oil and you put it in a pan and you fry it, or you put it in a deep fryer, you're making some of the worst toxins you can put in your body. Okay, so I don't want to make you paranoid, but that is the history of how we got here. And I want to talk next time about how does this affect your thoughts about the Mediterranean diet. We haven't talked about that. We'll talk about the Mediterranean diet. We'll talk about olive oil as an oil for cooking and consumption in general. When we talk about women's health, this is a big topic because I'll tell you this right now. No woman should ever be put on a low-fat diet. Let that sink in. No woman should ever eat a low-fat diet. We'll look at the studies. When women ate low-fat diet, they increased their risk of heart disease and they increased their risk of breast cancer. I'm not talking some little study off in the corner. The Women's Health Initiative, the nurses study, big studies have shown that women do not do well on a low-fat diet. And you should eat saturated fat. And I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to show you the research. The toxins that when we heat up vegetable oils, yes, there's some significant toxins. Nasty stuff that if I showed you what this does to your vessels, you might never go through a drive-through again, knowing that that's what's going on inside that building. And then we're going to talk about saturated fat. Is it really healthy? Really? Let's look at the literature and see what it shows. And remember your forefathers in the 1900s. They didn't have heart attacks. They were eating saturated fat. And then lastly, what about this ketogenic diet? Why is everybody talking about keto? That's garbage. It's new age. It's new. It's a fad. The ketogenic diet has been around for more than 100 years. It was available in the 1800s and was researched and looked at then. It was studied at the Mayo Clinic. There is so much research behind it. But again, we need to spend time and look at it so that you have a better idea of what you should be doing for yourself. What you don't know could hurt you. And I guarantee you, some of the things that you think you know are probably wrong. And I probably uncovered some of this now. And what's the point in talking about any of this? Again, I want to live long. I want you to live long. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be active. I don't want your joints to hurt. I don't want your brain to turn into Alzheimer's. I don't want you to have a heart attack. These very things, this very topic, is central and critical. What you put in your pie hole on a daily basis affects everything here, not just your heart, everything. And at least if I've given you the facts, if I've shared with you the research that's out there and the realities, and all I hope to do is understand how we got where we are. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not big on calling people out. Live and let live. But if I've shared with you what's in your food, and I've made sense of it, and we've broken it down, at the end of the day, you can decide if you want those French fries. I will still love you and give you a big hug. But I need you to know so that you can make better decisions for yourself. All right? I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed the stories. There's lots more to come. We're going to get into some of the research. We're going to get into women's health and other issues. But if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, don't hesitate to email me. You can reach me at help@huberpm.com. You can call our office. You can throw me, no, you're wrong because I read this study. I'm happy to accept it and take it in. I love it. I want to put it all on the table, and then let's see what we think. All right? Thanks so much for your kind patience. I hope this was helpful. I'm out.